She never imagined her wedding day would end with her groom whispering "I can't" at the altar and abandoning her in front of 200 witnesses, but what happened in the next 60 seconds would change everything. A stranger in an expensive suit stood up from the back row, walked straight through the gasping crowd with flowers in his hand, and made her an offer she couldn't refuse. Marry him instead. Right then, same day, same dress. Everyone thought she'd lost her mind when she said yes to a man whose name she barely knew, but they had no idea about the contract he made her sign, or the dangerous feelings that would grow between two broken people playing a game neither of them knew how to win. What started as a transaction became an obsession, and by the time she realized she was falling for him, she'd already discovered the devastating secret that could destroy them both. Subscribe right now and comment below if you've ever taken a risk that terrified you, because this story is about to get absolutely unhinged. Mia stood at the altar of the Riverside Gardens estate, every detail around her a testament to her artistry. The gauzy draping that transformed the ballroom into something ethereal, the arrangements of peonies and eucalyptus she'd designed herself, the soft glow of Edison bulbs strung overhead. Her champagne-colored gown caught the late afternoon light, streaming through tall windows, making her feel, for one perfect moment, like she belonged in this fairy tale she'd created. 200 faces watched her, friends, family, clients who'd hired her to make their own dreams come true. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, the part where Derek would look at her like she was his entire world. Instead, he looked like he might vomit. His hands trembled. His face had gone the color of paste. When the officiant asked, "Do you, Derek Shaw, take Mia to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Derek opened his mouth and nothing came out. The silence stretched. Then, "I can't." 2 words, barely a whisper. The room inhaled sharply, a collective gasp that hit Mia like a physical blow. "I'm sorry," Derek stammered, his eyes darting everywhere except her face. "I thought I could, but I can't. The pressure from my family. This isn't right." He turned. He walked down the aisle. He left. Mia stood frozen, her bouquet of white roses and wildflowers heavy in her numb hands. The whispers started immediately, a rising tide of shock and pity that threatened to drown her where she stood. Jenna materialized at her elbow, hissing curses under her breath. Carmen pushed past an usher, her face a thundercloud of maternal fury. What the hell just happened? Mia's brain felt wrapped in cotton. She looked at the DJ booth, at the untouched cake table, at the bar she'd spent hours arranging, all paid for, all pointless. She cleared her throat. When she spoke, her voice came out surprisingly steady. "The ceremony's cancelled, but the reception is paid for. Please stay and enjoy the food and drinks." Her voice cracked on the last word, shattering the illusion of control. She gathered her skirts and walked fast, away from the pitying stares and shocked murmurs, away from the beautiful disaster she'd orchestrated. The bridal suite swallowed her. Jenna and Carmen followed, Carmen already cursing Derek's ancestors, and Jenna furiously texting his cell. Mia sank onto the velvet settee, still clutching her bouquet. Through the closed door, she heard the muffled confusion of the reception. Glasses clinking, uncertain laughter, her carefully curated playlist mocking her with its joy. "I planned 100 weddings," she whispered. "I know what happens when the groom gets cold feet. I just never thought—" The sentence died. Carmen wrapped her in fierce arms, while Jenna paced like a caged animal. Eventually they stepped out. Damage control, family management, the logistics of humiliation. Mia stared at herself in the full-length mirror. Smudged makeup, red eyes. A gown that had felt like armor now looked like a costume for a role she'd been fired from mid-performance. A soft knock interrupted her spiral. "Miss Hartley?" An unfamiliar male voice, low and careful. "I know this is a terrible time, but I'd like to speak with you. My name is Owen Calloway." Mia was too exhausted to be cautious, too numb to care. "Come in." Owen Calloway stepped into the bridal suite, and Mia's first coherent thought was that he looked nothing like the usual wedding crashers. Early 30s, tall and lean, dark hair slightly disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. His charcoal suit was expensive, the kind of tailoring that whispered money rather than shouted it, and his grey-blue eyes observed her with an intensity that made her acutely aware of her smudged mascara and wrinkled gown. He held out a glass of water. "I thought you might need this." Mia accepted it numbly, her fingers brushing his. "Do I know you?" "No. I came with Daniel, one of Derek's groomsmen. I owed him a favor, so I attended." He paused. I'm sorry for what happened to you. Her spine stiffened. She'd heard enough sorries in the last 20 minutes to last a lifetime. If you're here to tell me everything happens for a reason, you can leave. Owen sat in the chair across from her, his posture relaxed, but his gaze unwavering. I'm here to make you an offer. Marry me instead. Today, right now. Mia laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. What kind of sick joke is this? Not a joke. Owen's voice remained calm, methodical. I need a spouse for a year. My company's acquisition has a clause requiring key personnel to demonstrate personal stability. It's archaic, but it's contractual. I was planning to hire someone through a discreet agency, but seeing your situation, he gestured vaguely toward the door, beyond which her disaster of a wedding reception continued. We could help each other. You're insane. I'm practical. 1 year, separate lives, generous financial compensation. He named a figure that made her breath catch. Enough to pay off her business loans, enough to expand, enough to never worry about next month's rent again. Clean divorce at the end. No strings attached. Mia's hands trembled around the water glass. Insulted didn't cover what she felt, but beneath the outrage something else stirred, a wild, reckless defiance. Or you let Derek win, Owen said, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. You let him make you the punchline of your own story. Your choice. The door burst open. Carmen and Jenna froze, taking in the strange man seated calmly before their devastated bride. Owen stood, hands raised. Owen Calloway, I was just... Jenna's phone was already out, her fingers flying. Her face went slack with shock. Holy shit, Mia. He's actually legit. Calloway AI Solutions. The sale was in TechCrunch last year. Carmen's eyes narrowed. What do you want? Mia rose, her decision crystallizing in her chest like ice. He wants to marry me. Her voice shook, but held. And I'm saying yes. The bridal suite had become a war room. Carmen paced in tight circles, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Jenna planted herself directly in front of Owen, arms crossed. What's your angle? Why her? Why today? Owen didn't flinch. The acquisition clause is real. I need a spouse on paper for optics. Mia needs a way to salvage this disaster. It's mutually beneficial. Beneficial? Jenna's voice dripped skepticism. You expect us to believe you're just a good Samaritan with a marriage fetish? I expect you to believe I'm offering a solution to a problem we both have. Owen's gaze shifted to Mia, still seated on the velvet settee in her champagne gown. And I think she deserves a better ending to today than public humiliation. Carmen whirled on her daughter. Baby, you can't be serious. You don't know this man. Mia's laugh was hollow. I didn't know Derek either, apparently. At least Owen is being honest about what this is. Owen pulled out his phone, fingers moving across the screen. I'm drafting terms now. My lawyer will formalize everything later, but this establishes intent. He read aloud. 1 year marriage, 100,000 up front, deposited within 48 hours. Separate living arrangements, negotiable. No physical or emotional obligations beyond necessary public appearances. Clean divorce with an additional $50,000 settlement at the end. Non-disclosure agreement, binding both parties. Jenna snatched the phone, scanning the screen. Her eyes narrowed. What if one of you wants out early? 30 days notice. Prorated payment. What if you meet someone else? Romantic entanglements outside the marriage are permitted, provided they're discreet and don't compromise the business arrangement. Mia listened from somewhere far away, floating above her body, watching this surreal negotiation unfold. Carmen gripped her daughter's shoulders. This is insane. You're making a decision out of hurt and pride. Mia's eyes filled. Maybe. But I can't walk out there and face those people as the woman who got left at the altar. I can't, Mama. Please. Carmen saw the desperation, the terror. Her face crumpled. If he hurts you, I'll kill him. Owen's voice remained steady. I won't hurt her. That's a promise. Jenna thrust the phone toward Mia. Sign if you're really doing this. 2 signatures appeared on the screen. Jenna added hers as witness, her jaw tight. Owen made a call. The officiant is still here. He's agreed to perform the ceremony. Jenna disappeared to inform the remaining guests, maybe 80 people, loyal or curious enough to stay. Mia looked up at Owen. Are you sure about this? His grey-blue eyes held hers. Are you? She nodded slowly. Then let's go. He offered his arm. Mia stood at the entrance to the ceremony space for the second time that day. The sun hung lower now, casting amber light through the tall windows and stretching shadows across the polished floor. The remaining guests, maybe 80 of the original 200, occupied scattered seats, their faces displaying confusion, loyalty, scandalized fascination. Jenna had done damage control, spinning the narrative as Mia's choice and "we're here to support her." Carmen sat front row, arms crossed over her emerald dress, eyes locked on Owen with an expression that promised consequences. Owen waited at the altar, hands clasped, his posture formal, but his expression softer than before. Not pitying, something closer to understanding. Reverend Miles, the kind-faced officiant who'd been hired to marry her to Derek, stood between the flower arrangements Mia had personally selected 3 weeks ago. He looked between bride and groom with concern edged by curiosity. Mia began the walk, alone this time. No bridesmaids, no father figure, no procession, just her and her choice. Her hands trembled. She felt every whisper, every phone angled to record, every pair of eyes tracking her champagne gown as it whispered across the floor. But she kept her focus on Owen, who watched her approach with something that looked like respect. When she reached him, he leaned close. "You're very brave, or very stupid." The corner of his mouth lifted, almost a smile. Reverend Miles cleared his throat. "We find ourselves in unusual circumstances today, but marriage, at its heart, is about commitment and choice, and these two have made their choice." Owen's vows were simple, contractual, but his voice carried quiet sincerity. "I promise to respect you, protect your dignity, and honor our agreement for as long as it stands." Mia's throat tightened. "I promise to do the same. To be honest, to honor our terms and to," she swallowed, "to see this through. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." Owen leaned in. The kiss was brief, chaste, his lips warm and surprisingly gentle. Mia felt an unexpected jolt of awareness. The room erupted in hesitant applause. Jenna clapped loudly, encouraging others to follow. Carmen didn't clap, but she didn't leave either. The reception felt like performing surgery without anesthesia. Mia and Owen sat at the head table, strangers in wedding attire, making small talk that went nowhere. Guests approached in cautious waves, some offering congratulations, others wearing expressions of deep bewilderment. A few of Mia's clients nodding with what looked like impressed approval. "Bold choice," one bride-to-be whispered. "I love it." Owen handled the attention with polite discomfort, his responses measured and minimal. Mia deployed her professional smile, deflecting questions about their meet-cute with vague references to mutual friends and serendipitous timing. The DJ played a slow song. A few brave couples swayed on the dance floor. Mia turned to Owen during a quiet moment, the question finally escaping. "Why did you really do this?" Owen was silent. His jaw worked. Then, "Because I know what it's like to be left. And I wasn't going to watch someone as brave as you stand there alone." Mia's heart lurched. "This isn't just revenge or practicality. What have I done?" They sat in charged silence, the weight of their impulsive decisions settling like sediment, while around them the reception continued, and their future, 1 year, contractual, impossible to predict, began. Mia woke disoriented, tangled in sheets softer than anything she'd ever owned. For a moment, she thought hotel. Then yesterday crashed back. Derek's whispered rejection, Owen's impossible offer, the surreal second ceremony. She sat up fast. The guest bedroom stretched around her. Massive, minimalist, all greys and whites. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a misty lake view. Her wedding dress draped over a chair like a ghost. She had vague memories of Owen helping her from the reception, insisting she take the master suite while he disappeared into a guest room. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. 7:30 a.m. Sunday morning. 47 missed calls. 123 texts. She wore only her slip. On the dresser sat neatly folded clothes. Soft joggers, a grey t-shirt, tags still attached. He'd bought them for her, guessed her size. Heat crept up her neck. Mia showered in the ensuite bathroom, all marble and rainfall fixtures, then pulled on the borrowed clothes. They fit. Not perfectly, but close enough that she wondered how he'd known. She ventured out. Owen's house stole her breath. Open concept, floor-to-ceiling windows everywhere, modern without coldness, tasteful abstract art. Her gourmet kitchen so pristine it looked unused. She found him in a glass-walled office overlooking the water. 3 monitors, rapid typing, jeans and a plain black t-shirt. His hair stuck up slightly, like he'd been running his hands through it. He noticed her, stopped, stood. "Good morning. Coffee?" Already brewed. They sat at the kitchen island, mugs steaming between them. Reality crashed down. Owen outlined house rules like a corporate presentation. She could choose any bedroom. He worked irregular hours from home. Help yourself to the kitchen. Housekeeper twice weekly. He valued privacy and quiet. Mia felt like she was touring a rental property. The money, she said. He pulled up his phone, showed her a bank transfer confirmation, dated this morning. $100,000. Real. She was married to a stranger, and she was $100,000 richer. The absurdity lodged in her throat, halfway between laughter and tears. Logistics, Owen said. You'll need clothes, essentials. We should align on what we tell people. Vague? Very. Met through mutual friends. Things moved quickly. We're private. Okay. Mia stood, still floating outside herself. I'll go pack some things. Owen walked her to the door. For what it's worth, I meant what I said yesterday. I won't hurt you. She searched his face for deception, found only awkward sincerity and something that looked like loneliness. Okay, she whispered. I'll hold you to that. Sunday afternoon, Mia stood in her apartment. Small, colorful, crowded with personality, packing essentials while her phone exploded. Carmen called 4 times. Jenna texted, "Are you alive? Blink twice if you need extraction." Mia deflected, promised explanations soon, and returned to Owen's house by early evening, to her new life, whatever that meant. Sunday evening, Mia returned with 2 large suitcases and her laptop bag. Owen met her at the door, reaching for the bags. In the same instant she said, "I got it." They fumbled. His hand brushed hers. "Let me help," he said. "I'm fine." He took 1 suitcase anyway. Mia chose the guest suite again. Displacing Owen from the master felt too intimate, too much like a real marriage. He nodded when she told him, relief flickering across his face. They ordered Thai food. Owen asked her preference first. That surprised her. The dining table felt enormous for 2 people. They sat kitty corner rather than across from each other, the silence heavy as fog. "We should establish ground rules," Owen said, opening his notes app. "Beyond the contract." Mia poked at her pad thai. "Like what?" "How we live together without wanting to murder each other." A laugh escaped her. "Okay, I'll start. I like cooking. You clearly survive on takeout and protein shakes." "Guilty. I need workspace. My business is mostly remote, but I do consultations from home sometimes." Owen nodded, typing. "The study off the living room. It's yours." "I'm an early riser. Morning routines matter to me. I'm a night owl. I work until 2 or 3 a.m. most nights." They looked at each other. Opposite schedules. Less collision potential. "I hate clutter," Mia said. "Same. I prefer direct communication over passive-aggressive bullshit." "Agreed. I value honesty." Owen's eyes held hers. "So do I." Something unknotted in her chest. His phone lit up. 76 unread texts glowed on the screen. Mia raised an eyebrow. "You're terrible at this whole human interaction thing, aren't you?" His lips twitched. Almost a smile. "Clearly. I married a stranger. So did you." The ice cracked. They refined their public story, met 6 months ago through Daniel, kept it private. Derek's abandonment clarified everything. Thin, but plausible. Owen washed dishes. Mia dried. The rhythm felt oddly domestic, their hands moving in synchronized silence. Her phone buzzed. Derek's name appeared. "Mia, I'm so sorry. Can we talk? I made a terrible mistake." Her hand crushed the dish towel. Owen noticed. "Everything okay?" She showed him. His jaw tightened. "What do you want to do?" Mia breathed deep, then blocked Derek's number. 3 taps. Done. "I want him to be irrelevant." She dried the last plate, put it away with steady hands. Owen watched her. Something like admiration softened his features. "Good," he said quietly. They retreated, Mia to her room to call Jenna, Owen to his office to work. But the air between them had shifted, hostile strangers to cautious allies. Mia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Derek's blocked contact still burning in her mind. "This is my life now, for a year." Monday morning, 1 week after the wedding, Mia woke to the smell of coffee, rich, dark, already brewed. Owen had vanished into his office before she emerged from her room. A note waited on the counter. "Good morning. I have meetings until noon. Help yourself to anything. Formal. Considerate." Mia poured herself a cup and carried her laptop to the sunroom, a glass-walled space overlooking the lake where morning light spilled across hardwood floors. She settled into the cushioned chair and opened her email. 93 messages, most from concerned clients. Her phone buzzed. Video call from a bride named Ashley. "Mia, oh my God, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" Mia smiled. professional mask sliding into place. I'm great, actually. Better than great. Now let's talk about those centerpiece options. Owen passed by the sunroom door mid-call, paused, watched her gesture animatedly at the screen, explaining the difference between garden roses and peonies. He disappeared. That evening she found another note. Do you need a second monitor or better Wi-Fi for your workspace? Something warm bloomed in her chest. Tuesday brought Carmen via video call, demanding a house tour. Mia walked her through each room, phone extended. At least he's not keeping you in a dungeon, Carmen muttered. Owen emerged from his office, caught the tail end. Later, he found Mia in the kitchen. Does your mother hate me? Mia laughed. She doesn't trust you. There's a difference. How do I fix that? You earn it. Owen nodded slowly, filing that away like data. Wednesday, 11 p.m. Mia was making chamomile tea when Owen stumbled out of his office, exhaustion carved into his face. She poured a second cup without asking. They sat at the island in companionable silence. I've never lived with anyone before, Owen said finally. Lila and I kept separate apartments. I've always lived alone too. Mia wrapped her hands around her mug. This is weird, but not terrible. His lips curved, almost a smile. High praise. Thursday, Mia met her first post-disaster client at a downtown coffee shop. Sarah, 26 and glowing, greeted her with a hug. I heard about your spontaneous wedding. It's so romantic and brave. Mia blinked. You think so? Absolutely. Life's too short not to take chances, right? Maybe the narrative was shifting after all. Friday evening, Owen appeared in the kitchen doorway. Do you want to have dinner together? Instead of separately? Sure. They ordered pizza. Owen chose a documentary about AI ethics. Mia expected boredom, found fascination instead. Owen transformed when discussing his work, awkwardness dissolving into passionate expertise, hands moving as he explained neural networks and machine learning. Wait, so the algorithm teaches itself? Mia leaned forward. Exactly. It identifies patterns humans can't see. She watched him animate, eyes bright. He's actually interesting when he's not being weird. Friday night, documentary finished. Owen hesitated while gathering empty plates. We have a charity gala next Saturday, tech non-profit I support. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I need to make an appearance, and it would be good if you came as my wife. Their first public performance. Mia's stomach tightened. What's the dress code? Black tie. She mentally catalogued her wardrobe. I'll be ready. Relief washed over his face. Thank you. They parted for the night, retreating to separate rooms. Mia lay in bed staring at darkness. The week had passed without conflict. They'd established rhythm, professional, increasingly comfortable. That terrified her more than fighting would, because it meant this might actually work. Saturday evening, 2 weeks after the wedding. Mia stood before her closet in nothing but shapewear and determination, surveying the battlefield of discarded options strewn across her bed. The emerald gown won, sleek, floor-length, hugging every curve like it had been painted on. She zipped herself up, applied eyeliner with surgical precision, and reached for her secret weapon, bold red lipstick, armor on. She took a breath and stepped into the living room. Owen stood by the window in a tuxedo that probably cost more than her first car. When he turned, his expression shifted, surprise flickering across his features before settling into something warmer. You look. He stopped, searched for words. It's incredible. Mia's pulse jumped. You clean up okay yourself. The ballroom glittered. Chandeliers dripped crystal light across elegantly dressed guests who clutched champagne flutes and spoke in the hushed tones of people accustomed to being important. Owen was immediately swarmed. Calloway didn't expect to see you at one of these again. Owen, we need to discuss the AI ethics panel. Is it true you're consulting for Marcus Tech now? Mia watched him shift into public mode, shoulders tight, responses measured, discomfort radiating from every polite smile. She slipped her arm through his. Hi, I'm Mia, Owen's wife. She extended her free hand to the venture capitalist currently monopolizing her husband. And you are? The man blinked, then recovered with a politician's smile. Richard Chen, Avalon Ventures. Oh, you funded that vertical farming startup in Portland, didn't you? I used their flowers for a wedding last spring. Absolutely stunning. Richard's chest puffed. You follow agricultural tech? I follow beauty. The tech is just a bonus. Owen's grip on her arm relaxed incrementally. Dinner seated them with Richard and his wife, plus a journalist whose smile was all teeth. Owen, you've been quite reclusive. The journalist leaned forward. What brought you back into public life? Owen's jaw went rigid. Mia jumped in. He met me. I'm very persuasive. Laughter rippled around the table. The journalist pivoted. And the marriage. Quite sudden, wasn't it? Mia squeezed Owen's hand beneath the table, their prearranged signal. His voice came out smooth. When you know, you know. Later, during the dancing, Owen appeared at her elbow, looking mildly terrified. Would you? Yes. She took his hand and led him onto the floor. He moved like someone following IKEA instructions, technically correct, completely joyless. Relax, Mia whispered. Follow my lead. She guided him through the waltz, and gradually his shoulders dropped. His hand settled more naturally at her waist. Their eyes met. Performance bled into something else. 3 weeks in, and Mia had stopped asking herself what she was doing. Wednesday morning rain drummed against the windows while she cracked eggs into a bowl, scrambled the way Owen preferred them. She'd noticed he picked around sunny-side yolks, toast cooling on a rack, fresh strawberries she'd sliced while the coffee brewed. She heard his office door open. Footsteps, hesitant. Owen appeared in the kitchen archway, hair disheveled, yesterday's t-shirt wrinkled. His eyes were shadowed. He'd been up all night again, fighting code that refused to cooperate. He stopped when he saw the table set for 2. You didn't have to. I know. Mia slid eggs onto plates. Sit. He sat. Rain filled the silence between bites. Not awkward, just quiet. Mia had learned Owen didn't need constant conversation, and she'd started appreciating the peace of it. Thank you, he said eventually, for this. You'd survive on coffee and protein bars if I didn't feed you. Probably. The corner of his mouth lifted. Mia expected him to vanish back into his office. Instead, he lingered, watching her sketch centerpiece designs across the table. What are you working on? She glanced up, surprised. Summer wedding, outdoor ceremony, industrial venue. The bride wants organic elegance, which is code for expensive but not stuffy. How do you translate that into flowers? Lots of greenery, wildflowers mixed with garden roses, asymmetrical arrangements, nothing too structured. She turned the sketch toward him. See? Natural, but intentional. Owen studied it with the same intensity he gave his code. The color palette? Warm tones instead of pastels? She's getting married at sunset. Cool tones would fight the light. Smart. Mia felt warmth bloom in her chest. What about your project? The one keeping you up all night? Owen launched into an explanation of neural networks and pattern recognition, hands moving as he described algorithmic problems she only half understood. Then he caught himself mid-sentence. Sorry, I'm boring you. You're not. Mia leaned forward. I like hearing you talk about things you care about. You get less too robotic. Owen blinked, then laughed, a real startled sound that transformed his whole face. Mia's heart kicked. Okay, spill. Jenna cornered her in the kitchen that afternoon while Owen worked upstairs. What's it actually like living with him? Mia rinsed coffee mugs, searching for words. It's not what I expected. He's kind, thoughtful, leaves me notes, asks if I need anything, doesn't hover. It's nice. She paused. But also weird because it's all still, I don't know, transactional. Is it? Jenna crossed her arms. Because you're making him breakfast and he's asking about your work. That's not transactional, babe. That's marriage. The mug slipped. Mia caught it before it shattered. Thursday afternoon, 4 weeks into the marriage. Mia sat across from a bride-to-be at Common Grounds, nodding as the woman described her vision. Garden wedding, blush and ivory, romantic but not fussy, when her phone buzzed against the table. Unknown number. She glanced down. Her chest tightened. Mia, it's Derek. I got a new number because you blocked me. Please, I need to talk to you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. The bride's voice became white noise. Mia's fingers went cold around her phone. And I was thinking maybe eucalyptus garlands, what do you think? That would be beautiful. The words came automatically. Professional smile, nodding, writing notes she wouldn't remember. The meeting ended. Mia drove home gripping the steering wheel too tight. Derek's text seared into her brain. She found Owen in the kitchen waiting for the kettle to boil. He looked up, and whatever he saw in her face made him straighten. What happened? Mia handed him her phone without speaking. Owen's jaw tightened as he read. When he looked up, his eyes had gone flat, the way they did when he was calculating, protecting himself. What do you want to do? I don't know. Mia leaned against the counter. Part of me wants to delete it and pretend he doesn't exist, but another part wants to hear what he has to say. Not because I want him back, she said quickly. I didn't get closure. I went from standing at an altar to standing at another altar, and I never processed it. Owen set her phone down carefully. If you need to talk to him for closure, do it. You don't owe him anything, but you might owe yourself that. Mia studied him. His shoulders were rigid, his hands precise as he poured tea. Are you worried I'll go back to him? Owen exhaled. I'm worried you didn't get to grieve what he did before you jumped into this with me. I'm worried. He stopped. Tell me. That you'll realize you made another impulsive decision. With me. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in her chest. Mia moved closer. I'm not going back to Derek, but you're right. I should hear what he has to say. Not for him. For me. Owen nodded stiffly. Okay. That evening Mia texted back. One conversation. Coffee shop on Main Street. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Then we're done. She found Owen in his office, staring at code he wasn't writing. I'm meeting him tomorrow morning. His hand stilled on the keyboard. Do you want me to come with you? The offer warmed her. No, but thank you. If he upsets you, call me. Owen's eyes met hers. I'll come. Mia squeezed his shoulder. He caught her hand, held it just a moment longer than necessary. That night she rehearsed conversations she'd never have. Down the hall, Owen paced, hating the jealousy coiling through him like poison. Friday morning. Armor, dark jeans, blazer, the confidence she'd rebuilt brick by brick. Mia drove to Common Grounds alone. Friday, 10 a.m. Mia wrapped both hands around her latte, feeling the heat seep through ceramic. She hadn't taken a sip. The cup was a prop, something to anchor her while she waited. The door chimed. Derek walked in. He looked terrible, thinner, shadows carved under his eyes, beard scruff that would have horrified the image-conscious man she'd known. He spotted her, and relief washed over his face like she'd thrown him a lifeline. Mia! He slid into the booth, reaching for her hand. She pulled back. You have 10 minutes. Talk. Derek flinched but launched in. The words tumbled out desperate and rehearsed. How his parents had spent months undermining their relationship, saying Mia wasn't the right fit, that he could do better than a wedding planner from a working-class background. He'd been weak, let their voices drown his own feelings. Panicked when the moment arrived. I've been miserable since. I love you. I want to try again. His eyes pleaded. I'll stand up to my parents this time. I swear. We can have a small ceremony. Just us. Start fresh. Mia listened, watched his mouth move, felt absolutely nothing. Not rage, not longing, just distant pity, like watching a stranger beg for something she no longer owned. Derek, her voice was calm. You didn't love me. You loved the idea of me, the confident woman who made you look good at parties. But the second it got hard, the second you had to actually choose me over their approval, you ran, and you humiliated me in front of 200 people while you did it. I was scared. People make mistakes. You're right, I made one too. She met his eyes. I ignored every red flag because I wanted so badly to believe someone could love me without conditions. But I deserve better than someone who needs to work up the courage to choose me. Derek's face crumpled. So you're staying with him? The stranger you married out of spite? Mia stood, slinging her purse over her shoulder. I married Owen because he showed up when you didn't. And every day since, he's proven that marriage is about showing up, even when it's inconvenient. You taught me what I don't want, Derek. He's teaching me what I do. She walked toward the door. Mia, we're done. She didn't look back. In her car, Mia's hands shook against the steering wheel. Not from grief, from the clean, sharp relief of a door finally closed. She texted Owen, I'm okay, on my way home. His response came instantly, I'm here. When she pulled up to the lake house, Owen stood on the porch, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense with barely restrained worry. Mia walked straight into his arms. He caught her, steady and solid, one hand cradling her head. You okay? Yeah. She breathed him in. Soap and coffee and something uniquely him. I really am. They stood there, wrapped together, while lake wind whispered through the trees. For the first time in her life, Mia felt truly safe in someone's arms. Owen pressed his lips to her hair, didn't ask questions, just held her. Saturday morning. Mia woke feeling lighter, like she'd set down luggage she'd been dragging for months. She found Owen in the kitchen, spatula in hand, staring at smoking pancakes with pure bewilderment. Batter dripped down the cabinet. Flour dusted his shirt. The disaster zone would have made her laugh if his expression wasn't so endearingly frustrated. I wanted to make you breakfast. He gestured at the carnage. But I'm not good at this. Mia's laughter bubbled up, full, free, unstoppable. Move, before you burn the house down. They cooked together, Mia directing while Owen followed instructions with engineering precision. Their hips bumped, Elbows collided. He cracked eggs one-handed just to show off, and she swatted him with the dish towel. Easy, warm, right. Over pancakes that actually tasted good, Owen asked if she wanted to talk about Derek. She did. She told him everything. The relief of realizing she'd been settling. The freedom in walking away. Owen listened like her words mattered. Like she mattered. Then he shared his own wreckage. Lila had pursued him hard when his company took off. Love-bombed him with grand gestures, constant affection, everything he'd craved after years alone. He'd proposed within a year, believed he'd finally found someone who saw past the awkward genius to the man beneath. A journalist contacted me 6 months into the engagement, wanted to verify a story Lila sold about our private life. Owen's jaw tightened. I dug deeper. She'd been feeding gossip sites for months, had a backup relationship with a venture capitalist in case my company failed. Owen, I ended it. She married him 3 weeks later. His voice went quiet. I thought I was unlovable after that. That the only part of me worth wanting was my money. Mia reached across the table and laced her fingers through his. You're so much more than that. Owen's eyes glistened. So are you. The moment stretched, raw and vulnerable and real. They spent the day together because they wanted to, not because any contract required it. Walked the lake trail, skipped stones. Mia was terrible. Owen taught her with patient amusement, his hand guiding her wrist. Talked about dreams she hadn't shared with anyone, expanding her business to destination weddings, maybe writing a planning guide someday. Owen wanted to develop AI accessibility tools, technology that actually helps people instead of just making rich people richer. She saw him fully then, not the recluse or the CEO, just Owen, brilliant and kind and trying. That evening, they cooked dinner together. Pasta with homemade sauce, Mia's specialty. Owen handled garlic bread and didn't burn it, which he announced like a medal-worthy achievement. They ate on the deck as sunset painted the lake gold. Sunday morning. Mia scrolled through Instagram over coffee, half awake, when the first notification hit. Then another. Then 50 more. The gala photo had gone viral. She sat up straighter, thumb flying across the screen. Tech blogs, lifestyle sites, Twitter threads dissecting every pixel. Tech CEO's mystery wife steals the show. Owen Callaway's smile says it all. From hermit to husband, AI mogul's romantic transformation. The photo showed Owen mid-laugh, eyes crinkled with genuine joy. Her hand rested on his chest. They looked utterly at ease, like people who'd spent years together instead of weeks. The comments ranged from sweet to invasive. People dug into her background, found her business page, speculated about their whirlwind romance. Comparisons to Lila cropped up. Sleek, polished Lila versus curvy, vibrant Mia. Then the cruel ones appeared. What does he see in her? Gold digger vibes. She's not exactly his type, is she? Mia's chest tightened. She'd expected this, knew it was coming, but seeing the words still stung. What are you looking at? Owen emerged from his office, coffee mug in hand. She showed him. His mortification was immediate. I don't do public attention. He scrolled through the articles, jaw tight. This is invasive. Mia noticed he wasn't upset about the photo itself, just the scrutiny. She scrolled to the comments section, found the worst ones, felt her throat close. Owen glanced at her face. What? She showed him. His expression went glacial. Those people are idiots. You're stunning. The casual confidence in his statement made her heart race. Before she could respond, Jenna called. Girl, I just saw the photo. You two look like you're actually in love. You know that, right? Mia stepped onto the deck, lowered her voice. It's just a good picture. Bullshit, I've known you 10 years. That's your real smile. And Owen looks at you like you hung the moon. Jenna, you're falling for him. Admit it. Mia hung up, hands shaking. Later, Owen found her in the sunroom, laptop open but unseeing. I did something. Tell me if I overstepped. He showed her his phone, a rare public statement on his professional account. My wife and I value our privacy. The speculation and commentary, especially the disrespectful remarks about Mia, are unwelcome. She's brilliant, kind, and the best decision I've made. That's all you need to know. Mia stared, throat tight. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. That evening, they wound down on the couch. A habit now, this quiet space before sleep. You called me your wife in the post, Mia said. Not spouse or partner. Wife. Owen met her eyes. You are my wife. The words landed heavy, layered with meaning beyond contracts. Owen. He leaned closer, gaze dropping to her lips. Mia. The air crackled, inches apart, his breath warm, her pulse thundering. Owen's phone shattered the moment, his lawyer's name flashing. He cursed softly, answered, stepped away. Mia sat back, heart pounding. We almost kissed, and I wanted to. Friday evening, 6 weeks into the marriage. Owen found Mia at the dining table, surrounded by fabric swatches and vendor contracts. He cleared his throat. I have a proposal. She looked up, eyebrow raised. Another one. His lips twitched. The acquisition's nearly done. My lawyer thinks we should take a visible couple's getaway. Solidify the image. He paused. I have a cabin. 2 hours north, private, quiet. We could go for the weekend. Mia studied him. His hands were in his pockets, his tell when he was nervous. Separate rooms. Of course. She'd been drowning in work, in the unspoken tension crackling between them every time they shared space. A break sounded like oxygen. Okay. The drive north unspooled easy. They'd discovered overlapping music taste. 90s R&B bleeding into indie folk, and sang off-key to Lauryn Hill, while pine trees thickened outside the windows. The cabin appeared at dusk, rustic but luxurious, nestled among towering pines, with a private dock stretching into dark water. Owen, this is gorgeous. He carried her bag to the larger bedroom without being asked. You take this one. They made dinner together, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, and ate on the deck as stars punched through the darkening sky. The isolation made everything feel suspended, separate from contracts and viral photos, and the real world waiting below. Saturday morning brought kayaking. Mia splashed water everywhere, paddling in chaotic circles, while Owen laughed so hard he nearly capsized. You're terrible at this. I'm learning. They raced back to the dock, both soaked and breathless. The afternoon hike opened something between them. Owen talked about building something meaningful, not just profitable. Mia shared her dream of writing a book, wedding planning for couples on shoestring budgets. You'd be good at that, Owen said. You make people believe love doesn't have to cost everything. Saturday night, fire crackling in the stone fireplace. Owen's voice went rough. I've never felt this comfortable with anyone. Mia pulled her knees to her chest. I'm terrified of what happens when our year ends. Owen turned to her, firelight carving shadows across his face. What if we didn't have to end it? Her breath stopped. What? What if this became real? Not a contract. Us. Actually us. Owen, we agreed. I know what we agreed. He shifted closer. But I didn't expect to care about you. I didn't expect to want to come home because you're there. I didn't expect what? He cupped her face. To fall for you. The kiss was tentative, asking permission. Mia melted into it, kissing him back with weeks of denied longing. Slow, deep, consuming. They broke apart, breathless. Your room or mine? Mia whispered. Yours. They barely made it to the bedroom. Sunday morning light filtered through the cabin windows, soft and golden. Mia woke to Owen's heartbeat steady beneath her ear, his arm wrapped around her waist. For a moment it was perfect. She felt safe, cherished, whole. Then reality crept in. We crossed the line. What does this mean? Owen stirred, opened his eyes and smiled at her, unguarded, genuinely happy. Hi, he murmured. Hi. They lay there, neither willing to shatter the moment with words. Breakfast unfolded in easy synchrony. Owen cracked eggs while Mia toasted bread, their movements a wordless dance punctuated by stolen kisses and lingering touches. He caught her waist as she reached for mugs. She pressed her lips to his shoulder as he flipped pancakes. The ease was intoxicating, but as they packed, anxiety crept under Mia's skin like cold water. She folded clothes with mechanical precision, mind spinning. The car ride home started quiet. Owen's hand rested on her thigh, thumb drawing absent circles. 20 minutes in, he noticed her silence. What's wrong? Mia stared at the passing trees. What are we now? Last night was incredible, but the contract... I don't care about the contract. His voice was gentle but firm. I care about you. Her fear spiraled anyway. What if this is just proximity or chemistry? What if we wake up in 3 months and realize we made a mistake? Owen pulled over to the shoulder, gravel crunching under tires. He turned to her, expression intense. Mia, look at me. She did. I've spent 3 years avoiding this, avoiding feeling anything for anyone. I'm terrified too. His jaw worked. But I'd rather risk making a mistake with you than play it safe alone. Tears blurred her vision. I'm scared you'll wake up and realize I'm too much. Owen's voice cracked. You're not too much. You're everything. The kiss was messy, desperate, an affirmation sealed in salt and certainty. They arrived home as dusk settled over the lake. Owen grabbed bags from the trunk while Mia unlocked the door. His phone buzzed. An email. Subject line: acquisition finalized. Marital clause no longer required. Owen froze, scanning the message. The acquisition had closed early due to favorable market conditions. The marital stability clause had been waived as a goodwill gesture. The legal reason for their marriage no longer existed. He looked up at Mia, stricken. She saw his expression, dread pooling in her stomach. What? Owen showed her the screen. Mia's breath stopped. So, we don't have to be married anymore. They stood in the driveway, the email glowing between them, the weekend's joy colliding with the brutal timing of reality. Monday morning. Mia woke alone. The bed still smelled like Owen, cedar and coffee, but his side was cold. She found his office door closed, the muffled sound of his voice filtering through. She knocked softly. I'm on a call. Sorry. Distracted. Not warm. Mia retreated, anxiety gnawing at her chest. She replayed the email, his stricken expression in the driveway, the way he'd barely spoken after. He's relieved. He got what he needed. Last night was just closure. Owen was indeed on calls all morning, conference calls with his legal team, the acquisition board, finalizing paperwork that no longer required a wife. But his mind kept circling back to that email, its brutal timing. He'd seen Mia's face when she read it, seen her retreat into herself. She thinks I was using her. He wanted to talk to her, but didn't know how to start without sounding desperate or pathetic. By lunchtime, they were both trapped in their own spirals. Mia made herself scarce, packing her laptop and fleeing to a coffee shop downtown. She couldn't bear the silence in that house, the weight of his closed door. Owen noticed her absence within an hour. He stood in the empty kitchen, saw the mug she'd left half full, and felt his chest constrict. She's pulling away. So he withdrew further, burying himself in code he didn't need to write. Tuesday, the pattern repeated. They were polite strangers again. No shared meals, no lingering conversations. The ease they'd built over 6 weeks evaporated like morning fog. Jenna noticed during their video call. What happened? You were literally glowing after that weekend. Mia broke, voice cracking. She explained. The email, Owen's distraction, her fear that it was all just convenient for him. Jenna's exasperation crackled through the screen. Or hear me out. He's freaking out because he caught feelings and now the contract is void and he doesn't know what that means either. Talk to him, Mia. But Mia was too scared. Wednesday evening. They were both in the house but hadn't spoken all day. Owen finally emerged from his office, found Mia in the kitchen staring at her laptop without typing. He broke the silence. We need to talk about the timeline. Mia's stomach dropped. Timeline? For the divorce. The words tasted like ash. The contract specified a year, but since the clause is void, we should discuss terms. Mia felt like she'd been slapped. He wants out. She masked her heartbreak with cool professionalism. Right, that makes sense. I'll have my lawyer draft something. Owen looked gutted but nodded. They retreated to their separate spaces. Mia cried silently in her room, face buried in a pillow that still smelled like him. Owen sat in his office, staring at the contract he suddenly despised, convinced he'd lost her before he'd ever really had her. Thursday morning, Mia started packing. Thursday afternoon, Owen came home from a rare in-person meeting to find Mia's bedroom door open, suitcases on the bed. His heart stopped. What are you doing? Mia didn't look at him, folding a sweater with mechanical precision. Moving back to my apartment. It makes sense, right? The contract's void. No reason to keep pretending. Owen stood frozen in the doorway, the word pretending hitting like a punch. Is that what you think this was? Pretending? Mia finally looked at him, eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. What else could it be? You got what you needed. Your acquisition went through, and now you want to discuss divorce terms. Message received. Owen stepped into the room, desperation clawing at his throat. That's not what I meant. I thought you wanted out. You've been avoiding me all week. Mia laughed bitterly, the sound sharp and broken. Because you've been locked in your office. Because the second that email came through, you shut down. I thought... Her voice cracked. I thought maybe last weekend was just a mistake you were too polite to say out loud. Owen's face crumpled. A mistake? Mia, that weekend was the first time in years I felt like I could breathe. You're not a mistake. You're the best thing that's happened to me. Mia shook her head, tears spilling. Then why did you bring up the divorce? Owen ran a hand through his hair, frustration and fear tangling together. Because I thought you'd want an out. The whole reason we did this was the contract. I didn't want you to feel trapped now that it's over. The words hung between them. They stared at each other, the miscommunication painfully, stupidly clear. "So, you don't want a divorce?" Mia's voice was small, fragile. "God, no." Owen's voice broke. "Do you?" "No." A whisper. The tension shattered. They reached for each other, kissing desperately, frantically, all the fear and longing pouring out in the press of lips and hands. Mia's fingers tangled in his hair. Owen pulled her closer, like he could fuse them together through sheer will. He pulled back just enough to speak, foreheads touching. "I don't want to discuss divorce terms. I want to discuss forever terms." Mia laughed through tears. "What does that look like?" Owen cupped her face, thumbs brushing away the wetness on her cheeks. "It looks like this. You and me. No contract. No end date. Just us. Figuring it out." Mia nodded, kissed him again. "Okay. Us." They held each other for a long time, the suitcases forgotten on the bed. Saturday morning, 1 week after they'd decided to make the marriage real, Mia stood in the kitchen making breakfast, scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, fresh coffee, humming along to a playlist. The ritual had returned, sweeter now without the weight of pretense. The doorbell rang. Owen, still in pajama pants and a faded t-shirt, padded to the door. He opened it and froze. Lila Trent stood on the porch, polished and perfect in designer athleisure, holding a coffee tray from an expensive downtown cafe. Her blonde hair cascaded in effortless waves. Her smile was practiced and predatory. Owen, surprise. His entire body tensed. "Lila, what are you doing here?" She tilted her head, all sweetness. "I heard about your marriage. Congratulations. I wanted to meet the woman who finally got you to settle down." She breezed past him into the house before he could stop her, heels clicking on the hardwood. Mia emerged from the kitchen, dish towel in hand, and saw the stunning stranger. Understanding crashed over her immediately. "You must be Lila." Lila's eyes swept over Mia, lingering on her curves, her casual tank top and shorts, the natural hair pulled into a messy bun. The assessment was clinical, dismissive. "And you must be Mia. Owen has such eclectic taste now." The insult was wrapped in honey. Mia's spine straightened. "And you have such an interesting sense of boundaries. Showing up uninvited." Owen stepped between them. "Lila, you need to leave." Lila ignored him, kept her gaze on Mia. "I just wanted to warn you. Owen has a type. He falls fast, commits hard, and then realizes he's made a mistake. I'd hate to see you get hurt the way I was hurt." Mia laughed, the sound cold and sharp. "Funny, because Owen told me you were the one selling stories about him. That doesn't sound like hurt. That sounds like opportunism." Lila's mask slipped, a flash of anger darkening her perfect features. Then she recovered, smile returning. "Believe what you want. But ask yourself, why would a man like Owen choose someone like you, unless there's something in it for him?" Owen's voice cut through, low and deadly calm. "Get out. Now." Lila turned to him, tried one last play, voice softening. "Owen, we were good together. I've changed. We could—" "I said get out." Owen opened the door, waited. Lila realized she'd lost. She tossed her hair, gathered the coffee tray she'd set down, and walked to the door. "Your loss," she said over her shoulder. The door closed. Sunday afternoon sunlight slanted through Carmen's lace curtains, painting patterns across the worn hardwood floors. Mia gripped the bouquet of lilies so tight the stems bent, her stomach a knot of nerves. Owen stood beside her on the porch, holding a bottle of wine like a shield, his jaw tight. "She's going to eat you alive," Mia whispered. "I know." The door swung open. Carmen filled the frame. 60 years of steel wrapped in a floral apron, her dark eyes sweeping over Owen with the precision of a surgeon examining a patient. Then, before he could extend his hand, she pulled him into her arms. "Welcome, son." She held him for 3 heartbeats, then released him and stepped back. "But we need to talk first." Mia shot Owen a look that said, "I warned you," as Carmen led him toward the living room. Jenna appeared in the kitchen doorway, grinning. "This is going to be good. Come on, Mia, let the interrogation begin." In the kitchen, Mia chopped vegetables with unnecessary aggression, while Jenna stirred gravy and provided running commentary. $20 says your mum makes him cry. She's not that bad. Girl, she made Derek sweat and he was a personal trainer. In the living room, Carmen settled into her armchair, the throne from which she'd raised Mia alone, where she'd paid bills and nursed fevers and plotted their survival. Owen perched on the couch across from her, back straight. "Tell me," Carmen said, "why I should trust you with my daughter's heart." Owen met her gaze. No deflection, no charm. "You shouldn't. Not yet." His voice was steady. I married Mia for selfish reasons. I needed a wife on paper and she needed a way out of the worst moment of her life. I thought I could keep it clean. Transactional. He paused. But Mia doesn't do transactional. She fills rooms with light. She makes breakfast because she cares, not because she has to. She taught me that love isn't something you negotiate. It's something you build. Carmen's expression didn't shift. My daughter, she said slowly, has been underestimated her whole life. People see her size, her confidence, her joy, and they make assumptions. Derek saw her as a trophy until his family made him see her as a problem. She leaned forward. What do you see? Owen's throat worked. I see the person who taught me that love isn't transactional. I see strength and kindness and humor that never quits, even when the world gives her every reason to. His voice cracked. I see home, and I see someone I don't deserve, but will spend every day trying to. Carmen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. She stood. You mess this up, and you'll answer to me. Understood. Friday evening, 8 weeks into the marriage. Mia walked her client to the door, thanking her for choosing their firm for her destination wedding. The consultation had gone well. The sunroom's natural light and lake view always impressed, but Mia's mind kept wandering. Owen had been acting strange all week. Whispered phone calls that stopped when she entered rooms. Mysterious afternoon errands. Evasive answers when she asked what he was working on. She closed the door and called out, Owen, you hungry? I can start dinner. In here. His voice came from the living room, not his office. Odd. Mia rounded the corner and froze. The living room had transformed into something from a dream. Fairy lights draped from the ceiling beams, casting warm gold across the walls. Candles flickered on every surface. The coffee table, the mantel, the windowsills. A small table sat in the center of the room, set with her favorite wildflowers spilling from a vintage vase, 2 place settings on crisp white linens. Soft music played through the speakers. She recognized it instantly. The song they danced to at the charity gala when everything had started to shift. Owen stood beside the table, wearing dark jeans, and the navy button-down she'd once told him made his eyes look incredible. He was holding a small velvet box and his hands were shaking. What is this? Mia's voice came out breathless. Owen crossed to her, took her hand. His palm was warm, slightly damp with nerves. He led her to the table, and she noticed details she'd missed. The menu cards in his handwriting, the bottle of wine they'd shared at the cabin, the playlist she'd made him weeks ago, cued on his phone. We got married for the wrong reasons, Owen said quietly. And then we fell in love for the right ones, but we never got to do this properly. He opened the box. Inside sat a ring, simple, elegant, a single sapphire set in white gold that caught the candlelight and threw blue fire across her skin. Nothing like the placeholder band they'd exchanged at their rushed ceremony. I want to ask you again, Owen's voice cracked. Not because of a contract or an acquisition clause or public appearances, because I choose you, Mia, every single day. Will you marry me? For real this time? Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks before she could stop them. 3 months into the marriage, Mia stood in the lake house guest room, the same room where she'd spent her first confused morning as Owen's wife, and smoothed her hands down the soft blush-pink dress. Not champagne this time, not armor, just something that made her feel beautiful because she wanted to feel beautiful, not because she needed to prove anything. Through the window, she watched Owen directing the florist, pointing to where the wildflower arrangement should go. He kept adjusting things, nervous energy radiating off him even from a distance. She smiled. You ready? Jenna appeared in the doorway, stunning in a deep burgundy dress. I've been ready, Mia said. This time, you mean it. This time, I mean it. They walked downstairs together. Carmen waited at the bottom, resplendent in emerald green, eyes already glistening. She took Mia's face in her hands. My beautiful girl. Mama, you're going to make me cry before we even start. Good. You should cry at your wedding. The real one. Outside, 30 chairs faced the water. 30 people who mattered, no performance, no strangers, just witnesses to something real. Owen stood at the makeshift altar, navy suit, no tie, hair slightly messy from running his hands through it. When he saw Mia walking toward him across the grass, his whole face transformed. That smile, the one she'd seen that first night at the charity gala, the one that had gone viral, the one that was just for her. Reverend Miles beamed at them both. We're here to witness something rare, a marriage that began as practicality and became a love story. Mia's hand found Owen's. He squeezed, held on. Owen, you want to go first? Owen pulled a folded paper from his pocket. His hands shook slightly. "Mia, I married you because I was scared to feel anything." His voice steadied. "You terrified me because you made me feel everything. You turned my house into a home, my routine into a life, and my heart into something I don't want to guard anymore. You're my favorite plot twist, my best decision, and the person I want to choose every single day." He looked up from the paper, eyes bright. "I'm all in." Mia didn't need notes. The words lived in her chest. "Owen, you saw me when I thought I was invisible." Spring arrived in whispers. Pale green buds on the trees, morning light stretching earlier through the windows. 9 months had passed since Owen Calloway walked into that bridal suite and changed everything. Mia sat in the sunroom, now officially her workspace, complete with a drafting table, mood boards covering one wall, and a vintage desk Owen had surprised her with for Valentine's Day. On her laptop screen, a bride named Sarah gestured excitedly about floral arrangements. "I love the vineyard concept," Sarah said. "Can you make it work with our budget?" "Absolutely. Jenna and I specialize in luxury on a realistic budget. Let me show you." Across the room, Owen glanced up from his code, watched Mia's animated hand gestures, the way she made every client feel like their wedding was the only one that mattered. His chest tightened with that familiar ache of gratitude. 20 minutes later, Mia ended the call and stretched, rolling her shoulders. "Good meeting?" "Great meeting. Napa Valley destination wedding. Jenna and I are seriously considering expansion now." Owen saved his work and closed his laptop. "That's incredible. You've come so far." "We've come so far." Mia crossed to him, kissed the top of his head. "Your app is half the reason we're growing this fast." The wedding planning software Owen built had launched 2 months ago. Streamlined vendor coordination, real-time budget tracking, client communication all in one place. Industry blogs were already writing about it. Mia and Jenna had hired an assistant and were fielding inquiries from planners across 3 states wanting to license the technology. "I just coded it. You're the vision. We're a good team. The best team." Sunday dinner at the lake house had become tradition. Carmen arrived at 5 sharp arms full of groceries, already critiquing Owen's vegetable chopping technique before she'd even set down her purse. "Baby, you're massacring those tomatoes." Owen stepped aside, grinning. "Show me again," Carmen demonstrated, her hands sure and practiced. Owen watched carefully, asked questions, tried again. She nodded approval. "Better. You're learning." Mia watched them from the doorway, her mother and her husband moving around the kitchen, like they'd been doing this for years instead of months. Carmen caught her eye and winked. Later, after Carmen left with containers of leftovers and promises to come back next week, Mia and Owen collapsed on the couch. Buddy, their golden retriever rescue, all enthusiasm and terrible manners, immediately claimed the space between them. "Your mum called me son again today," Owen said, scratching behind Buddy's ears. "She means it." "I know. It still gets me every time." 1 year and 1 day after the original altar disaster, Mia woke to Owen kissing her shoulder, his breath warm against her skin. "Happy anniversary," he murmured. She blinked into consciousness, confused. "Anniversary of what?" "Of the day I met you, the day my life started." Mia rolled to face him, a smile tugging at her lips despite herself. "You're a sap. Only for you." He grinned, unashamed. They'd planned a quiet day, no big gestures, just them. Over breakfast, Mia buttered her toast and let herself marvel at the ordinary magic of it. Owen's bare feet under the table, his hair still messy from sleep, the way he poured her coffee without asking how she took it, because he'd memorized it months ago. "A year ago, I thought my life was ending," she said. "I thought Derek leaving me at the altar was the worst thing that could happen." She paused, met Owen's eyes. But it was the best. Owen reached across the table, laced his fingers through hers. "Why's that?" "Because it brought me to you." Later, they drove to Riverside Gardens, the place where everything began. Mia hadn't been back since that day. She'd avoided it, scheduled client consultations elsewhere, redirected brides to other venues. But she needed to reclaim it. They walked through the empty ceremony space, sunlight filtering through the tall windows, just as it had a year ago. Mia stopped where she'd stood in her champagne gown, paralyzed and humiliated. "I was so scared," she admitted, "of being alone, of being unlovable." Owen wrapped his arms around her from behind, anchoring her. "You were never unlovable. He just wasn't capable of loving you the way you deserved." Mia leaned into him, solid and steady. "And you are." "I try every day." They took a selfie right there, grinning, arms around each other, and posted it to Instagram. A year ago, Everything fell apart here. Today, everything is exactly right. Anniversary Obese. The comments flooded in within minutes, love and support from people who'd watched their unlikely story unfold. That evening, they returned to the lake house to find it transformed. Carmen, Jenna, and a handful of close friends had organized a surprise anniversary party. The house hummed with laughter, music, the clatter of plates, and the warmth of people who mattered. Jenna pulled Mia aside, handed her a glass of wine. "You did it, babe. You found your person." Mia looked across the room at Owen, who was laughing at something Carmen said, his whole face open and unguarded. "Yeah, I really did." December, 18 months after the original wedding. The lake house glowed with holiday warmth. A massive tree dominated the living room, lights twinkling like captured stars, and Buddy wore a ridiculous reindeer collar that made his dignity questionable at best. Mia stood in the doorway of the kitchen, one hand supporting her 6-month pregnant belly, the other covering her mouth to stifle laughter. Owen was covered in flour, his hair, his shirt, even a streak across his cheek, staring at what appeared to be cookie dough that had achieved sentience and escaped the bowl. "Need help?" she asked, voice shaking with amusement. Owen looked up, sheepish. Desperately. She waddled over. There was no other word for it now, and she'd made peace with that, and surveyed the damage. "How did you get flour on the ceiling?" "I don't want to talk about it." Mia kissed his flour-dusted cheek. "Carmen's going to love these, especially the abstract ones." They worked side by side, Mia salvaging what she could while Owen followed instructions with engineering precision. The kitchen filled with the scent of sugar and vanilla, and Christmas music played softly from the speaker in the corner. Through the window, snow had started to fall, fat, lazy flakes that stuck to the pine trees and made everything look like a postcard. Their daughter kicked, a sharp jab against Mia's ribs, and she gasped. Owen's hands went immediately to her belly. "You okay? She's just reminding us she's here." Mia guided his hand to where Sierra, named after Owen's late grandmother, was performing what felt like gymnastics. "Feel that?" Owen's face transformed, the wonder still fresh every time. "She's strong. She's a heartly woman. Of course she is." Later, the house filled with family. Carmen arrived with her arms full of wrapped presents and homemade pie. Jenna and her fiancé Marcus brought wine for the adults and sparkling cider for Mia, along with a onesie that read, "My godmother is cooler than yours." They gathered in the living room, a tangle of laughter and wrapping paper, and Buddy's enthusiastic attempts to eat discarded ribbons. Owen sat on the floor, playing tug-of-war with the dog, while Marcus filmed, both men laughing like children. Mia watched from the couch, her heart so full it ached. Carmen settled beside her, warm and solid. "You're happy, baby. Really happy." Mia rubbed her belly, watched Owen lose the tug-of-war match, and fall backward dramatically. "I really am, Mama. More than I ever thought possible." "You deserve it all." Carmen hugged her carefully, mindful of the baby between them. Night fell. The guest rooms filled with sleeping visitors. The house settled into quiet contentment. Mia and Owen sat by the Christmas tree, just the two of them and Buddy's soft snores. Her head rested on his shoulder, his hand splayed protective over her belly.